I just realised this like green shirt that I've got is a bit like, Tom Cruise's character in the film, the pilot outfit. So get some get some aviators on, complete the look. I feel the need for speed. That's so cheesy. So Top Gun was a film from the 1980s that everybody's dad remembers, and there's a sequel out 36 years after the fact. So, and it's also a film that I'm adamant on seeing in the cinema, so I watched the first one. It is an iconic film, it's one of the early Tom Cruise films. It was the highest grossing film of 1986 when it came out. And it's a classic for many people, but is it worthy of that status, or is it a bit overhyped? Well, here, from the perspective of a first-time viewer, this is what I think of Top Gun. So the premise of the film is that you've got two pilots, Marveick, played by Tom Cruise, and Goose, who get enrolled in the prestigious Top Gun Flight Academy. And they're young, hotshot pilots who think they know everything, and they're dead cocky and everything. And that's where problem one with the film starts for me. In the first half of the film, like the first 50-ish minutes, there is such a carefree tone of the film. There's no real stakes, and there's for me, no real reason to care. Because, Maverick and Goose, they think they're too cool for school, they're young, hotshot, cocky pilots and everything, and they're like, oh, we rule the place, and you've got Tom Cruise with Kelly McGillis' character, Charlie, and they're kind of, there's a bit of a romance with them. And it's just really just kind of, like, they're just mucking about for the first 50 minutes. There's, like, no real tension. It's just them training and, they're being a bit edgy and, going fast and disobeying orders. And it's just like, I'm not engaged in this. And as a result, I found the first half of the film just really boring and just unengaging. And it's mildly entertaining. The parties that they go to and the Great Balls of Fire. But, I mean, I love that scene. That's great. But a lot of it is just, it's mildly entertaining at best. It's just kind of very samey, doesn't really do much to keep my interest, and I found that first half of the film, really boring and honestly a bit of a slog to get past. You've also got the romance plotline with Maverick and Charlie, played by Kelly McGillis there, and it's fine. It's a functional romance plotline, but it's that and nothing more. In fact, in the same week I watched Top Gun, I think I watched When Harry Met Sally, and it's a great film. That is a great rom-com, and I'm not really, I'm not a prune to romance, but it's not really my genre. Rom-coms aren't not really, but that film, When Harry Met Sally, it's a really great film about, deconstructing relationships and whatnot, and it's just a really great film, and it explores romance and whatnot in a much more interesting way, in a different way, and this film just kind of pales in comparison with that, and it's just kind of, it's fine, but it doesn't do anything really that is interesting, and it doesn't really hold my interest that much. There are things that I like in this first half of the film. For instance, the opening sequence on the Navy ship and, Maverick and Goose flying up to save the other pilot, and, the kind of sort of disorientating feeling when you're that high in the sky and the altitude and all that. That's a really great opening sequence. And also, the principal from Back to the Future, I can't remember his name, but he plays the captain in that opening sequence. That's a great hook for the film. It's just after that and until, well, an instant in the film we'll get to later, but that's where it slogs for me. But that opening sequence is really good and a really good hook for me. And the opening set piece has got great aerial, stunt work and camera work. And actually, let's just touch on that. The direction from Tony Scott. Yes, that's right. The brother of Ridley Scott, director of Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator, etc. Tony Scott's direction in this film throughout the whole film. I'll touch on it later when I get to the really good stuff in the end of the film. But, his direction is fantastic. Practical effects are always going to be better than CGI because it's just more believable. And the aerial camera work and the stunts and the direction of the action set pieces and whatnot, and the really claustrophobic feeling that you get when you've got shots inside of the jets, it immerses you. It's brilliantly done. I also throughout really liked Val Kilmer as Iceman. He's presented as a bit of a rival, but I honestly kind of preferred him at the start of the film, maybe just because he was trying to knock some sense into Maverick and Goose. But Iceman, he is presented as the big intimidating bully. He's kind of taller, and he's trying to, oh, you're dangerous, Marveick, and it's like that kind of thing. But he does have good intention, and he's very much, well-intentioned, and I appreciate that, and I really liked him throughout the film. Oh yeah, and the songs as well, they slap. You got Danger Zone, highway to the danger zone, you got Great Balls of Fire, and you got Take My Breath Away, which won the Oscar for the best original song, and it beat Little Shop of Horrors as well. Take my breath away, wow, 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 wow. But then, I want to say about 55-ish minutes into the film, about the halfway point, I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free and vague as possible, but the incident with Goose happens. I'm not going to spoil it just for those who haven't seen it, but the aftermath of this incident is incredibly powerful. A lot of time is dedicated to it. The reactions from all the characters is great, and what it does brilliantly is it proves to our central characters that this, going to Top Gun, you're not as cool as you think. It's like a reality check for the characters, and I really thought it just smacks you in the face like a ton of bricks of how impactful it is, and it just shows that there's no messing about, this is serious, and I loved that. And this pivotal moment of the film does lend a point as to why the first half was very carefree, because the impact of this moment needs to be incredibly powerful. It needs to really shock the audience, and it does do that. But it's at the expense of a very slow first half. And I get the point, and I do respect that, but these sort of stories are really difficult to get right from a sort of structural view, mindset, and an enjoyable mindset as well. Like, if I want to rewatch this film, I'd probably just skip to the second half because I wasn't interested in the first half. It's the same reason I'm not very fussed on Spider-Man Homecoming these days, because in that film, Peter Parker relies too much on the Tony Stark Iron Man spider suit, and it's just too easy for him, so there's no stakes and no reason for me to care. And it's only in the third act, the phenomenal third act in that film, where his suit is taken away and has to rely on his wits alone, and that's when the film becomes brilliant. And there is a point to that, Peter's learning a lesson, but there, it's too little too late for me, for my opinion. And overall, I found that film rather mediocre. Top Gun, however, is more at the halfway point with this, and it does it better, and I definitely would call it a good film, because the second half is fantastic. As I say, I love the emotional impact of Goose's incident, and then in the climax, we are treated to phenomenal, breathtaking action sequences with the aeroplanes, and it just amazes me so much. Practical effects, as I say, will always look better. And, the opening sequence, as I said, the cinematography of the aerial stuff was fantastic. The fact they get this stuff in camera, but with the dynamic action sequence and the explosions in the air and how fast-paced it is, it's absolutely breathtaking, edge-on-your-seat stuff, and it's brilliantly done. The editing throughout this entire sequence is done phenomenally, because it's so fast-paced and edge on your seat, but also you can comprehend still what's going on and where other characters are in relation to each other. You can comprehend it still, but it's really fast-paced. It hits that sweet spot with the pacing and its editing. It's truly exhilarating stuff. It's really feel-good by the end, and you do come out of the film, having enjoyed yourself in that second half, definitely. And you probably look back on it fonder, because, I have been, it's in the weekish since I've watched it. I've looked back on that second act, and it was just fantastic. And I might sound a bit negative in this review. That's purely because I wanted to really discuss my main problem with the film, that first half and the really odd structure. I just wanted to talk about that because it is a fairly simple film. It's enjoyable. I can see why it's a classic, and it is worth watching, but definitely persevere with it if you're a new viewer. If you're a new viewer, yeah, definitely persevere with it, because you are rewarded, and I'm confident in calling it a good film. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 personally, but that's just my thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you love it? Do you not really care for it? What do you think of the film? Let me know in the comments below. If anyone's seen the sequel, is it any good? No spoilers, because I plan to see it. And this is Clack of the Geek, signing out. Goodbye, everyone.